I came here this week. I was invited by my partner, and so I'm an Abraham virgin. And I was told that, look, go to the first seminar, and if you don't like it, go fishing. And
Did you catch any fish?
I didn't go fishing. I didn't go fishing at all. And I've met so many people. I feel like I've learned how to make love. There's so many people I've made love with, not in the literal sense, but it's just wonderful. Well, you know, I'm not selling anything more, and it's totally changed my outlook and the way I feel about what I'm doing now in my life, where I am in my life right now. And it was a gift, the whole seminar, and it's the best orgasm I've ever had. Really. And my question, which I've been meaning to ask when I eventually got here, was how do I clean up my vibrations? But I think I already did that when I woke up this morning.
You can't feel like that without having done that.
Exactly.
And in some ways you might say, well, I will immerse myself with other high-flying people, and as a result of what I'm observing, I will just feel better. And of course that works. But we want you to realize that there are high-flying energies and high-flying ideas and high-flying people and high-flying experiences everywhere. Sometimes you just have to look for them with a little more discernment than in an environment like this. And when you get hooked on this feeling, then you're more determined or decided to look. Esther's been listening to us for a long time, but this week has changed her experience as well, in that dozens and dozens and dozens of times, as she has found a word that she might think, or even a comment that she might say, she is calculating where it is on those flying discs, and she is asking herself the question, is this something I really want to get momentum going about? And sometimes it is, often it is, and off she goes and rides the exhilarating ride of that. And sometimes she doesn't, and she is discovering that she can control momentum in a way that she did not know before. You said, in essence, that you've sort of had your way with Abraham today by getting called here first. You were in control, you were playfully saying. But that's the way it is. In other words, when you get tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and in resonance with the whole of who you are and all that you desire, universal forces are at your fingertips, and you have the leverage that creates worlds for you to utilize in whatever way you choose.
I fully grasp it. This morning I woke up with a hangover, and I just accepted it and loved it. I opened my door, stood naked, let the wind blow me, and say, there's nothing wrong with having a hangover. We had a lot of fun last night. Yes, we did.
Very good.
Thank you.
If all of us here were to focus into that love and appreciation for you, where does that love go? Does it come to you and back to us? Does it expand to the universe? Where does that love?
Well, actually what it is our love focused on you, and you finally rendezvousing with it.
Ooh. It's about time.
It just never stops, does it? In other words, you become, we reflect it back, you become, we reflect it back, you reflect it back. It's a vicious cycle of well-being.
I love that. Thank you. And then my question, I went to Oneness University in in India for a month, and what they taught us oneness as God realization and realizing that we are that. And so I guess my question is, are you Source? Are you a part of Source? Are we all that is, or?
Well, Source is a word like God that when it is spoken, it activates within whoever's focused upon it, mostly where they already are about it. And so over the time that we have been presenting vibration to you in response to what you're asking for, Esther has been finding words, and we have been always tweaking our vibration to help her to find words that are not so normal to you, so that there is a possibility of finding a different vibration within you. It has been an experience of offering enough different vocabulary from a perspective of all-knowing that those of you who have found distorted viewpoints about who you are or about who Source is will be able to make your way eventually through your own process of evaluation to true resonance with that which it is. Because words don't matter at all. It's the vibrational feeling of it. So, as you understand that you didn't just begin when this physical body formed in your mother's womb. That is a really important part of it. And most humans do acknowledge that there must have been something before this, and there must be something more than this, because you look at your Earth spinning in its orbit in perfect proximity to other planets, and you just have to know that there's more to the equation than what you've got going on in terms of scientific discovery here on your planet. You are lovely people, but you have not managed to scrape enough earth, dirt, soil together and launch it into orbit to make a moon or anything like it, you see. You are creators who are dovetailing with creators. So a question like this is, we know, in an effort to place yourself within the whole of it. And everything that we speak is with that same intention. We want to help each of you to place yourself within the whole of it. And it's why we explain to you that you are more than this physical body, and that you were Source before you came into this body. And even though you're focused into this personality, the larger part of you is still Source. And that larger part of you that is Source is still offering a vibration that you have awareness of, whether you realize it or not. That's a strange statement. You have awareness of it whether you realize it or not, because you have emotion that indicates your alignment or discord with that vibration, which is the larger part of you. But then we explain over a lot of time, and if you've been listening to us for a while, you've heard all of this evolution of explanation, that here you are in your human form, exploring this magnificent leading edge environment and coming every day, many times in every day, to new conclusions about what you would want. In other words, you expand vibrationally. But as humans who are fixated on old ways of thinking of things, you usually don't ride your rocket of expansion, not at first, but you expand, and then you feel your relationship to your expansion. And that relationship to your expansion feels like aligned with it, feels wonderful, not so much aligned with it, not feeling so wonderful. So as that happens, then we stand inside what we are calling your vortex, holding the perspective of that which you want to call Source, we do too, which just expanded and evolved as a result of that last rocket you just sent. So how do you separate what you are and what you do from who we are and what we do when we are all focused upon motion forward, on joyous expansion? So your closer examination of life causes you to, with more detail, ask. That's what the evolution of all species is about. And as you ask, we become the culmination of what you've asked for. So that which you want to call God has expanded as a result of you, and you cannot separate your part from that. Not the part that you played before you came, and certainly not the part that you are playing now. So Source has expanded. All that is reveling. We're all on that high-flying disc, and we are aware of you who launched every rocket. So in our awareness of you, in our acknowledgement of your value, in our appreciation of who you are and what you have just accomplished, we hold steady that vibration, knowing that eventually you're going to find resonance with the wholeness of that which you are again. And as you find that resonance, that's that love you are claiming to feel for us. As we stated, what you've actually done is rendezvoused with the entirety of that which you have become. So when you ask a statement, you ask a question or make a statement, like, what is God, or who am I, or how do I? You have to include all of that. There are so many people who are so well-meaning, who want to uplift masses, who are unwilling to make that connection. And until you make that connection, you cannot even begin to be who you are or to understand how things are working out for you or anyone else. Until you put into the equation this relationship between you and that which you really are, you have no stability, you see. Now you're just running around measuring manifestations, sorting them into piles, claiming this pile to be better than that one, and that one to be better than that one, and that one to be better than that one, with no one feeling any control over which pile they play with, you see. But when you understand all of this, and you do, now, it's not just that you have control over what comes to you. It's that you have control over the way you feel. You have control over not just your access to source in the way that you can apply it to other things in a creative manner, but control over the way you access source in the way that you can now feel it wholly resonating within you. That's what our friend is describing. He's new to us, he says, but not really, because he's been finding resonance with all of this in many different ways. This is not the only place to find resonance with who you are, you see. But it is a place that will teach you what that resonance is that you're feeling and how to do it on purpose. Yeah. Really good. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In all of my life, I am pretty scared about what others might think of me, of how to act in a certain situation. So what I'd like to hear is a few words, how to let the opinions of others mean less and less to me. That's what I'd like to know.
Would you speak right to the heart of how it is that you all have summoned us to you? In other words, it is the most essential part of what we are all about as we are all in this together. Because everyone came forth with clear understanding of the contrast that they were coming into, knowing that that contrast would produce within them new seeds of desire which were essential for expansion and therefore essential for eternalness. And so that's why you decided, all of you, to come forth with enough variety and diversity to mix it up in order to cause those questions and those desires to be born. In the process of exposure to contrast, your parents, as they welcomed you into this physical experience, had already been bumped around enough by their lack of alignment and their forgetting who they are, that they started off with you in that way. And this is the way that we really want you to hear it. They didn't mean to, they were well-meaning, but they convinced you little by little that your happiness depended upon pleasing them. So they began training you right away. So did your teachers. So does almost everyone who comes around you to some extent. Because most people have sort of lost their way and are living conditional love. It's what we were speaking to just now as we were beginning, which is, show me something that makes me feel good and then I'll feel good. But if I should see something that doesn't make me feel good, then I won't feel good. So only show me what makes me feel good. Which causes people to, because they're living this conditional love, they want love, they just think they need certain conditions in order to feel that way. It causes them to then need something they can never get: control of what other people want, of what other people think, of what other people believe, of what other people are. They seem to need that control and they never get it. They keep looking for it, but they never find it. And we say it's because they're looking for love in all the wrong places. They're looking for it where it isn't instead of where it is. So the beginning to the answer to this wonderful question is, you have to get that square in your head. It was sort of off on the wrong foot almost from the beginning because those around you convinced you. And we understand why. When someone, your mother or your father or your boyfriend or your lover or your child or your friend, when anybody, or a stranger, when anyone holds you as their object of attention and likes what they see, adores you, and so they're connected with source energy because in their appreciation they're on that high-flying disc. And they're holding you as their object of attention. Oh, that feels so good. It feels like you want more of that until you begin to discover that you can't stand on your head in enough different ways to keep that consistently coming. So sometimes you say, I think I'll go forth and I think I'll be different enough that I will not conform. I will not be able to conform. There are all kinds of spirits coming in who are determined to be nonconformists in that way. I will not stand in perfection so that you can lazily, conditionally love me. Now, we're not asking you, any of you, to run around and be unlovable just to test people to their highest good. But we're also really not encouraging you to try to conform to please them because it makes them weak, you see. So that's really the crux of it. You have to realize that all of your joy comes from your alignment and everything else follows that. We like the words that you were offering about the inspiration that flows in other words, the impulse to ask the question. That was you reaching the vibration of where the solution is and feeling it but not quite being sure and feeling it and not quite being sure. That's that feeling of sensation, that feeling of inspiration, that feeling of impulse. That's that feeling of alignment that we've been talking about in all of these hours that we've been together. So the most important thing in no longer caring what anyone thinks is understanding that they don't know what they really think if they're not in tune with who they really are. So those opinions don't count, those opinions don't count, those opinions don't count, those opinions don't count, those opinions. Don't you want to go to the highest source of opinion? We would. We do. We are. And so then someone hits you with something that feels unpleasant. And rather than, we've been saying, don't let your feelings be hurtable. Let your feelings be unhurtable. Well, that means you got to be on the disc. You've got to be on the unhurtable disc, which means you got to be on the disc of alignment. You got to be on that high-flying place. You got to be tuned in, tapped in, turned on with who you are. And then even if something does occur, because it's a very diverse environment and you're moving around with a lot of people, and law of attraction is not going to bring you to a little cluster of people where there are only a handful. There are always going to be a lot of people around you. And those up closest to you, of course, are those that you're attracting with the strongest vibration. So something comes into your experience that doesn't feel all that good, but now you stand in your knowing and you acknowledge, hey, I don't hold this against you because you know not what you do. You don't know. You don't know, and it's not your fault in the sense that you're doing something wrong. We don't believe that anyone ever offers anything that is harmful or hurtful to another person deliberately. We think that they're swept up in a vibrational current that is causing inspiration that does not do who they really are justice. So if you were to find someone in the street bleeding, we know you'd do everything in your power to help them. We know you would. But when you find someone belligerent or uncaring or unkind or insensitive, you don't feel like helping him. You feel like getting away from them or kicking them to the curb. In other words, you don't feel kind toward them because in your attention to them, you've lost your connection and now they're controlling the disc you're on, you see. And we think that's the part that bothers you the most, is that it takes you from your alignment and you don't want to be taken from your alignment. You want your alignment to be so shored up. And you just do it. A gathering like this is putting more of you in the place of doing that in your entire lifetime has provided you. because you've sat for hours in conscious awareness of the laws of the universe, with the source within you pulsing in a stronger way than ever, and you've tuned to that frequency, and you will not slip from it without knowing that you've slipped from it, you see. Yeah?
Thank you.
My other half and I, we got off last night. We got in a disagreement, and it was mainly due to my sensitivity towards something that happened in the situation. It was just really my sensitivity towards things, and me taking things wrong. And of course, we're in this environment, so that momentum's moving much faster right now.
You really feel it more, don't you?
Yeah, it cascades.
When you get off, when you've really been on, it really feels off.
Yeah, it really gets off fast. And, you know, I was saying, you know, we're up here, but now it's like we're down, we're in this thing. And it's whenever we get, you know, we have a wonderful relationship, and we really do we work things out with one another. And we always know that there is no bottom to how deep things can go. You know, it just can get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse.
Yeah,
and we just
that's what happens with brilliant people. Brilliant people remember all the details.
That's, yeah, I totally do that. Yeah. And so this is a question about, like, when you're in so I was in this place last night, and I'm like, lay new pipes, you know, and I excused myself for a second. I said, I'm just going to go get some air real quick and go take some time, because how do you know, when you're in that moment, especially with someone you love,
You have to do something to break the cycle.
right, and it's trying to break that cycle in those moments, but when you're in a relationship, it's really hard to, so I'm going to tell you what I did. I went and took that break, and we discussed things more, which, you know, you're trying to, like, climb out of this now, and here we are here, and we're trying to do the best we can do to do that, and there's some relief, but not a tremendous amount of relief. And I actually ended up, we kind of just took some space from one another, and I ended up going up to the roof, and I laid up on the shade lounges up there and looked at the stars and put your meditation on. And it was funny because Bob Marley was on at the same time singing "Can This Be Love?" And it was a mashup like you've never heard. And I very much felt you there at that time. But my question is when you're in this position with your lover or someone who you care about deeply, and you're kind of just trying to crawl out of the sand, and the sand just seems to, is this the, and I try to meditate at that moment and stuff, and I felt some relief, but not a tremendous amount of relief, but I just really wanted to drop the whole thing and reverse this momentum and be back up here. What's the best thing we can do when we're in a relationship like this and we're in these positions with our loved ones and we disagree? Because it happens to everybody. I know it happens to every single person.
Well, most important, it is to recognize that all that has happened is some vibrational discord. It's not a reflection of who you are. It's not a reflection of who she is. It's not a reflection of what's really happening. It's not a reflection of your relationship. It's only reflection of a momentary vibrational situation. That's all it is. So diffuse it by just saying, it's just a moment. It's just a moment of imbalance. So that's first.
Okay.
That diffuse. It's just a moment. We're making too much out of this. Of all the times and all the places that we should be at our very best. In other words, you were doing the opposite to that. Rather than diffusing that, you were doing the opposite of that.
No, I said those exact words. You know that too. That's what I know. I did. I said, of all the places, of all the, you know, we're supposed to be up here, and this is way down here, and I know.
So it's that that judgment, which is just part of the momentum. But then the next important thing, so that's the first thing,
Okay.
be easy on myself and be easy on my lover.
Okay.
Then the second thing that we would do in a situation like this is remember that there is a momentum that is having its way with you. And most important, this didn't just get going in that moment or in that day. This is some residual momentum that something triggered.
Right.
So it feels like you got blindsided by dormant or latent momentum that just got triggered again. Well, that's a good thing, because your vibration is where you last left it. And there's nothing better than having something flare up and now through your new eyes evaluate the offness of it and strike a new vibrational pose. You said, I want to lay new pipes that get me more easily to where I want to be. Does that make sense to everyone? So, and in that spirit, it's the, I'm falling out of an airplane, I'm at 30,000 feet, I have no parachute, just relax, it'll be over in a little bit, because that climbing out that you were describing is adding momentum. Self-judgment, self-blame, feeling of inconsideration toward each other. In other words, there is no bottom to that, as you discovered. And so the quicker you can, we would offer these words. Now, those of you who have partners who are here together, who hear these words, as you offer these words, because you heard them here in the midst of all that you've been feeling here, they will be good trigger words for you to soothe things from now on. We would say, I love you too much, and I love me too much to continue this momentum. I love you too much, I love me too much, I love us too much. I love us too much to continue this momentum. No judgment about the momentum, no judgment about how it came from, because it's all legitimate. You didn't make it up. You get to want what you want, but you got to be a match to what you want to feel good. You can't ask behavior from another to get what you want. You have to be a match to what you want to get what you want. And what you discover with enough opportunity, with enough who are unwilling to be conditional lovers or play that game, which you each were for each other last night. Now what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not going to change in order to soothe this. You're going to have to find your soothing on your own, and you do. And then, you may not like this, but we really do. In your alignment, in your practiced chronic steady alignment, newly found on that topic, even if there is no behavioral shift, it doesn't matter, because you're in alignment. You see how interesting it is to be with someone. In a lot of relationships, in fact most of them, someone is more dominant and someone is more agreeable. And it works pretty well to a point. But there is not one of you who does not have, at the very core of your powerful being, the poignant, heartfelt, God source, understanding and expression that can only be expressed perfectly with these words: you're not the boss of me. So anytime you're looking for some sort of behavioral shift, that's what they want to scream at you, and often do. But we want you to just change those words to, our love for one another is so deep that let's just not continue this momentum.
So we both did the best thing we could do at that moment, because that's kind of how it ended, was like us both going off to our own space. And I know she went and meditated and I went and did my thing.
Yeah.
We just took the space. And
Yeah.
because we know we always do. We do love one another, and that we always try to work things out at the end. Because it just totally, we we want agreeance with one another all the
Another
time.
thing you want to say to each other on a regular basis, I love you so much because you're helping me work the bugs out of my vibrational dysfunction. And who better than you, who I know always loves me? You're helping me work the bugs out of my vibrational dysfunction, don't you? Doesn't everybody have it, and aren't you glad? And could you be alive? You were born into contrast. You were born into variety. You were born to expand. You can't expand. Do you think that you can have this lovely, lovely, lovely relationship and just get there and stay there? You can't do that. You have to have, there has to be constant more reaching and finding, reaching and finding. And this is the most important message that we would give to anyone about any relationship. You have to make your relationship with your connection paramount, so much more important than anything else. Because once you achieve that, you've got it all. And your partner, of course, will come along. You know too much about that. Both of you know too much about that, you see.
We do.
There's a sort of fear in some of you that goes something like, but Abraham, if I achieve perfect alignment with my vortex and I prepare a grid that is so perfect that my partner is not a vibrational match, then what will happen to our relationship? And we say, it will get better. It will get better every time. There is no downside to alignment. Because in alignment, that's where all your leverage is, it's where all your love is, it's where all your power is, it's where all your clarity is, it's where all your stamina is, it's where all your vitality is, it's where all your energy is, it's where all your balance is, it's where all your humor is, it's where everything is. Everything's in that alignment. Everything is in that alignment, you see. You weren't mad at each other, you were mad at being out of alignment, period.
Absolutely.
It's not your fault, I'm out of alignment.
Right.
I'd like to give you the credit for it. I would like to give you credit for me not being able to do the impossible. I'd like to blame you for me not being able to do the impossible. Find a balance and stay there forevermore. That's like asking the wire walker, get out there over Niagara Falls and don't move. Don't move. He would say, but there are wind currents. I don't care, don't move. Compensate for nothing. Just stand there, immovable. Don't move. He has to move. He moves a lot. He moves really, really, really a lot. A lot. Really, 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 really a lot as different currents are coming. That's why he's so good at not falling into Niagara Falls. You see? Good.
Thank you. And I love you, baby. I love you, and I love everybody here, and this has been awesome. Thank you.